lone figure stands resolute, a stark silhouette against the blinding tundra snow. This cloaked elf exudes calm, a deceptive stillness that conceals the fury within. In an instant, the serenity shatters. With uncanny speed, he launches into a deadly clash with a brutish tundra yeti, one of the many predators that stalk Icewind Dale. A curved scimitar in each hand, he carves through the frigid air, painting the snow crimson. The fight is a deadly dance, mesmerizing and ferocious. Each strike decisive, each movement instinctive, all of it driven by the primal need to survive, and a call to protect those who cannot protect themselves. This drow, this outcast, roams the untamed lands of Icewind Dale, his legend spreading across the lands of Faerûn. Born in the darkness of Menzoberranzan, the Lothian city of the Dark Elves, this renegade has been shaped by the light of his own choices. He has defied expectations for over 2 centuries. His story is one of survival, identity, and the unyielding pursuit of a better way. This is Drizzt Do'Urden. Hey everyone, welcome to The Drow Historian. This video will be a full profile on Drizzt Do'Urden, his origins, his weapons, his training, the people who shaped him, the gods who watch him, and the enemies who've defined his legend. This is built as both an introduction for people who may be new to the Legend of Drizzt series, and also as a reference of compiled details for longtime fans. First off, Drizzt was created by Salvatore back in 1987. He first appeared in The Crystal Shard, released in 1988, for TSR's line of Forgotten Realms fantasy adventure novels. While Salvatore's original intent for the character was to be a sidekick for Wulfgar, the young barbarian, that shifted pretty quickly as Bob started writing the book. Drizzt became an instant hit with fans and readers, and by the time the Icewind Dale trilogy was finished, Bob was already contracted to write a prequel series on Drizzt's backstory. This became the Dark Elf trilogy, which follows his birth in the Underdark all the way through to his emergence onto the surface world. As of 2026, there are 40 novels in the Legend of Drizzt series and another 8 that are also closely connected to the series and that author Salvatore considers a part of the series. This video is designed to give a sense of who Drizzt is, what he represents, and compile a dossier of sorts for his character. There will be spoilers that span many of the early books, but I'll do my best to avoid major plot details from deep into the series. Drizzt Do'Urden is a drow elf, born in Menzoberranzan, the most infamous drow city in the Underdark of Faerûn. The drow are black-skinned elves descended from ancient elves who were corrupted by and devoted to Loth, the Spider Queen. Their society is matriarchal, violent, and organized entirely around pleasing their goddess. Status is earned through cunning, treachery, and the favor of Loth's wicked priestesses. Drizzt was born into this world with lavender eyes. Among the drow, whose eyes are typically red, seeing in the heat spectrum of infravision, this was initially viewed as a defect by his family. Those eyes became one of the most recognized features and a metaphor for how differently Drizzt would move through the world of Menzoberranzan and beyond it. Drizzt was born the 3rd son of the 9th-ranking noble house in Menzoberranzan, Daermon Enashesbernan, better known as House Do'Urden. In drow society, every 3rd son born to a noble house is sacrificed to Loth. That fate was prepared for Drizzt on the night he was born. He survived because of a murder. House Do'Urden was in the middle of an assault on a rival house, House de Vere, when Drizzt entered the world. His older brother Dineen killed their brother Nalfane during that battle. With Nalfane dead, Drizzt became the 2nd son, and the sacrificial ritual was rendered void. His early life is chronicled in the Dark Elf trilogy, beginning with Homeland. These books cover his upbringing in Menzoberranzan, his training under his father Zaknafane, the bond with his panther companion Guinevere, and the events that led him out of the Underdark entirely. It is almost unheard of for a drow to rebel and escape Menzoberranzan, even more unheard of for them to completely escape the Underdark. This makes Drizzt's story one of the most unique tales as he battles with the morality of his people and frees himself from their tyranny. But this escape brings him to a surface world that despises his kind, and he is shunned and mistreated by many throughout his journeys. Along his path, he also encounters friends and mentors who help shape him and reinforce his hope for a world of good. And the first of his mentors was his father, Zaknafein. Drizzt Do'Urden was one of the most dangerous men in the City of Spiders, and one of the few who privately despised everything his culture represented. He was the weapons master of House Do'Urden, arguably the finest fighter in Menzoberranzan, and a man who had spent his entire life performing atrocities he didn't believe in just to survive. He was also one of Matron Malice's many suitors and the father of Drizzt. In Drizzt, Zaknafein saw a reflection of himself, and he made a decision to protect what he found there. Though he didn't immediately share the secret of their familial ties, he trained Drizzt personally, and those sessions became the foundation of the fighting style Drizzt carries to this day. More than technique, Zaknafein gave his son something Menzoberranzan had no framework for: the idea that a drow could choose a different way, the way of mercy. Guinevere is a magical panther summoned from the astral plane through an onyx figurine of wondrous power. She is Drizzt's most constant companion across his 2 centuries of life. Drizzt came into the possession of the figurine during his time at the Academy in Tir Bresh. A fellow student named Massoj Honet had led Drizzt to use the figurine on patrols in the Underdark while plotting to kill him. When Massoj made his move against Drizzt, Guinevere disobeyed her magical command and saved Drizzt from the jaws of a cave fisher. She has been at his side ever since. During the years Drizzt spent alone in the Underdark, after leaving Menzoberranzan, Guinevere was the only living presence in his life. Their bond is one of the most enduring relationships of his life. During the years Drizzt spent alone in the Underdark after leaving Menzoberranzan, something shifted in him. With no companions aside from Guinevere, no community, and no external anchor for his identity, surviving the hostile darkness demanded a version of himself that could operate on pure instinct. That version has a name. The Hunter is Drizzt's primal alter ego, cold, instinctive, entirely survival-focused. In this state, his moral framework goes quiet. What remains is a predator with 2 scimitars and a lethal read on his environment. For years, the Hunter was as much a risk as a resource. Every full surrender to it threatened the identity Drizzt had built. There were periods when he genuinely questioned which version of himself was the real one. It was Guinevere's presence that kept him tethered to his own identity. Drizzt eventually surrendered himself to the deep gnome city of Blingdenstone, choosing the risk of their judgment over the certainty of losing himself entirely. It was here that Drizzt encountered his second mentor, Belwar Disengulp. Drizzt first encountered Belwar during a drow patrol that attacked Belwar's mining party. Every gnome in the party was killed. Drizzt intervened and spared Belwar's life. His brother Deneen, unwilling to release a witness without consequence, had Belwar's hands cut off before letting him go. Belwar's people replaced them with enchanted weapons grafted directly to his arms, a hammer on one side, a pickaxe on the other. Years later, when Drizzt surrendered himself, hoping to find somewhere safe to rest, Belwar recognized him and vouched for his character publicly, and the 2 became genuine companions and traveled the Underdark together for more than a year. After learning that his family was hunting him, he left the Underdark behind to brave the unknown of the surface world. Drizzt was born in 1297 Del Reckoning. As of the latest novel, The Finest Edge of Twilight, the current year is 1510 DR, making Drizzt 213 years old. As an elf, he is still considered a young man, his appearance seemingly untouched by time. He stands slightly shorter than most surface elves, with a lithe, muscular, finely toned frame built by centuries of combat training. His skin is the deep ebony common to all drow. His hair is stark white, worn loose or tied back depending on the terrain. His lavender eyes are the feature most observers remember first. Drizzt carries himself with a calm, confident demeanor, and those who meet him often note an inviting warmth that few expect from a drow. Still, he lets his actions speak more than his words. His attire has shifted over the centuries, but he is best known for his iconic ranger look, a green cloak lined with white fur, worn over dark brown leather armor, and a mithril shirt crafted by the dwarves of Clan Battlehammer. Drizzt's arsenal has been assembled piece by piece across 2 centuries of adventure. Each item carries its own history. Icing Death is Drizzt's right-hand scimitar, claimed from the lair of the white dragon Ingaloa Castamazelian, and named Icing Death in honor of the worm. Drizzt and his companion Wulfgar slew the dragon in the depths of the Evermelt during Wulfgar's rite of passage. Icing Death's adamantine pommel is shaped in the likeness of a hunting cat, its blade enchanted silver with a diamond edge. It also carries an innate resistance to fire, a property that has proven decisive in battles against powerful demons and saved Drizzt on more than one occasion. Twinkle is Drizzt's left-hand scimitar, a gift from Malcor Harpal, originally crafted by the elves of Saluvinade. It shares an empathic link with Drizzt, and the sapphire gemstone in its pommel glows a faint moonlight blue when danger is near, giving Drizzt a passive early warning in combat. The blade is what is known as a defender, its crossguard aiding greatly in parries and counters. In a battle with the weapons master Tiago Baenri, Twinkle was shattered and later reforged by Catti-brie, blended with another powerful blade to create a stronger version of the weapon known as Vidrinath, which seeps drow sleep poison from its edge. Talmaril the Heartseeker is a longbow with deep roots in dwarven history, crafted as a gift from Lady Anariel to Clan Battlehammer in the ancient days of Del Zone. Regis recovered it during the companion's quest to reclaim Mithril Hall. Its paired counterpart, the Quiver of Anariel, provides an endless supply of magical arrows that discharge bursts of lightning on impact. Originally, Catti-brie carried the bow, but it has passed on to Drizzt, who uses it with deadly accuracy. It has been enchanted to mechanically collapse into a belt buckle for easy storage and quick access in tight quarters. The green cloak lined with white fur is one of Drizzt's most recognizable features. It is the winter cloak of the Weeping Friars, a keepsake from his time protecting a small religious order devoted to Ilmater on his first journey to Icewind Dale. It was the Weeping Friars who directed him toward 10 towns, suggesting that it was a settlement that accepted outcasts and might accept Drizzt. Beneath his green cloak, Drizzt wears dark, supple leathers and soft-soled boots with a dwarven mithril shirt underneath, crafted by the finest smith of Clan Battlehammer. He also carries the bracers of speed claimed from Dontrog Baenri. These are tight straps of black material lined with mithril rings. For many decades, these were worn on his legs rather than his wrists, granting him exceptional footwork in combat. This has since changed with his monk training. His original drow Pawafwi and house scimitars were long ago disenchanted by prolonged exposure to sunlight. Drizzt carries a whistle that summons Andahar, a unicorn mount commissioned by the ruling council of Silvery Moon as a gift for his service during the Third Orc War. Andahar differs from Gwennevar in one significant way. He exists fully on the material plane when summoned and can be permanently killed there. Drizzt has also worn at various times a pendant of Mieliki carved in the shape of a unicorn. It was made by the halfling Regis, a skilled scrimshaw artist from Knucklebone Trout. This small personal token connects Drizzt to his mentor, the ranger Montolio de Bruschi, and to the faith in Mialiki they shared. After years alone in the Underdark and a difficult first stretch on the surface world, Drizzt eventually made his way to Icewind Dale, the frozen frontier at the top of the spine of the world. It was there that he found something he had never had, a family of his own choosing. Bruenor is a dwarf king, stubborn and blunt, with a temper as quick as his axe. He was the first person on the surface to truly invite Drizzt into his community, showing genuine trust, a decision that required him to look past every assumption his world had built around dark elves. That decision, made in the cold of Icewind Dale, became the foundation for one of the most important friendships in Drizzt's life. Wulfgar is a barbarian warrior of the tribe of the Elk, raised in part by Bruenor after being taken captive following a raid. He wields Aegis Fang, a magical warhammer crafted specifically for him by Bruenor, and carries the physical power of a giant. He was mentored by Drizzt, transforming from a brutish warrior into a quick-footed and open-minded combat strategist. Regis is a halfling and a reluctant adventurer by nature. He is a gifted scrimshaw artist, a capable negotiator, and carries a ruby pendant with persuasive properties that has extracted the group from more than a few difficult situations. His loyalty to Drizzt and the companions runs considerably deeper than his general preference for staying out of trouble. He admires Drizzt's courage, humility, and fighting prowess, and often daydreams of becoming a warrior like Drizzt. Catti is Bruenor's adopted human daughter, a skilled archer and warrior who grew up in the dwarven mines of Icewind Dale. She is the closest and most beloved companion in the fullest sense, partner, confidant, and eventually his wife. Their bond developed over decades of shared danger and mutual trust. Together, they have a daughter, Brianelle Zaharina, known as Breezy, born in 1488 DR, who grew up training alongside her father with the monks at the Monastery of the Yellow Rose in Damara. Together, these four, alongside Guinevere and Drizzt, make up the Companions of the Hall. The name was dubbed by Harkle Harple as they set off on the quest to reclaim Mithril Hall, the ancestral homeland of Clan Battlehammer. What began as a shared adventure became something permanent. Their bond has been tested by grief, separation, and the relentless pressure of time. The Companions of the Hall are the found family at the center of Drizzt's life and the clearest expression of the person he chose to become. Drizzt's fighting style is the product of three distinct traditions, each built on the one before it. Drizzt's combat foundation was built in Menzoberranzan under Zac Nefane. At Melee Magthair, the Drow Warrior Academy, he developed the dual-wield technique that defines him to this day, ambidextrous, fluid, built around speed and a relentless press of attack. He graduated at the top of his class, winning the Grand Melee tournament 9 years in a row. The style itself is common to Drow fighters. What Zac Nefane brought to it was something the Academy never intended. Through their sessions together, he showed Drizzt that skill and conscience could coexist, that the same techniques the Drow used for aggressive engagement could be turned toward protection. That idea shaped Drizzt's fighting style and became the moral architecture for everything he built afterward. When Drizzt reached the surface world, he met Montolio de Bruschi, a blind ranger living alone in the wilderness of the Silver Marches. Montolio was remarkable. He had fought and navigated for decades without his sight, reading the world through sound, wind, and the behavior of animals around him. He saw Drizzt clearly in ways most sighted people could not. Montolio taught Drizzt the common tongue, wilderness survival, and the ranger traditions of archery and tracking. He also introduced him to Mieliki, the goddess of rangers and the forest, whose teachings gave Drizzt a philosophical framework for the values he had always carried but never been able to name. Through Montolio, combat became a vocation. Each confrontation carried purpose: defend life, preserve balance, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. That ranger ethos merged with the dual-weapon foundation Zaknafein had built, deepening both Drizzt's capabilities and his sense of identity. In more recent years, Drizzt sought out Grandmaster Kain at the Monastery of the Yellow Rose in Damara. Kain is one of the most accomplished practitioners of the Way of the Open Hand in Faerun, and his training pushed Drizzt into territory neither Zaknafein nor Montolio had covered. Through rigorous physical and mental discipline, Drizzt developed a new level of focus, precision, and composure. The monastic training also changed his relationship with the bracers of speed he claimed from Dantrog Baenri. For many years, he wore them on his legs to enhance his footwork. The monk training made that unnecessary. The speed became his own. More significantly, Kain's influence changed Drizzt's relationship with the hunter. His monk training gave him something more fundamental: the ability to integrate it. Through deep mental discipline, Drizzt learned to access the hunter's speed and predatory awareness while keeping his full self present. Drizzt's training has been tested against some of the most formidable opponents in Faerun. While he has faced many powerful and infamous enemies, three figures stand out for their impact on his story. Artemis Entrere is a master assassin from the city of Kalimport and Drizzt's most enduring rival. Cold, calculating, and extraordinarily skilled, he is arguably the finest human swordsman in Faerun during his prime. He came north from Kalimport hunting a ruby pendant belonging to Regis, and what he found instead was Drizzt Do'Urden, an encounter that would forever alter the course of both of their lives. Their first encounter became an obsession for Entrere. He recognized in Drizzt a fighter of equal skill, and that recognition unsettled him. Entrere had built his entire identity around being the best. Drizzt's existence complicated that. He pursued Drizzt across thousands of miles, driven by a need to prove something he couldn't quite name. Each has bested the other under different circumstances, and each has spared the other's life more than once. But on equal footing with no advantages, Drizzt is the better fighter. Over decades of encounters, the nature of their relationship has shifted considerably, shaped in no small part by Entrere's unlikely and transformative partnership with Jarlaxle. What makes Entrere compelling as a foil is that he represents what Drizzt may have become had he not found a way out of the Underdark. Both men came from brutal circumstances and built themselves into extraordinary fighters. Drizzt built a family and a moral code. Entrere built walls. Their rivalry has always been, at its core, a conversation about the cost of survival in a cruel world and taking agency to change that world. Ertu is a Balor, one of the most powerful demons of the Abyss. His conflict with Drizzt is personal. Drizzt banished him back to the Abyss during an early confrontation, preventing him from acquiring Crinshinabon, the Crystal Shard. Ertu has spent decades scheming and plotting Drizzt's demise. Obold Many Arrows was an orc chieftain who became something the Forgotten Realms had rarely seen, an orc king with a vision for his people that extended beyond conquest. Touched by the power of Grumpsh, the orc deity, he led the largest orc invasion of the Silver Marches in living memory, bringing devastation to communities and allies Drizzt had spent years protecting. But Obold's arc did not end in simple villainy. He eventually sought a different path for his people, negotiating a peace and founding the Kingdom of Many Arrows. His story forced Drizzt to confront assumptions he had carried about race and destiny, the same assumptions the world had always carried about him. They also did battle on multiple occasions, and Obold proved to be possibly the most powerful enemy Drizzt ever faced. No explanation of the legend of Drizzt would be complete without a mention of Jarlaxle. Jarlaxle is in a category of his own. He is the leader of Bregan de Aerth, a drow mercenary company that operates from the fringes of Menzoberranzan, selling its services to the highest bidder while answering to no house and no goddess. He is flamboyant, brilliant, and almost impossible to read. He always knows more than he reveals, and he always has more than one reason for everything he does. His history with Drizzt begins before they ever met. Jarlaxle and Bregan de Aerth were present during the destruction of House Do'Urden, operating in the shadows of that event in ways that would only become clear much later. Over the decades that followed, he has been an antagonist, an unlikely ally, a source of vital intelligence, and a persistent reminder that the drow world Drizzt left behind has never entirely released its grip. What makes Jarlaxle genuinely interesting in the context of Drizzt's story is that he holds no ideology. He aids the forces of Loth when convenient, abandons them when it suits him, and has never pretended otherwise. He serves Jarlaxle, and yet his long association with Drizzt has left its mark in ways neither of them would have predicted. He moves freely through both Drizzt's world and the world of Menzoberranzan, and that position has made him one of the most consequential figures across the life of Drizzt and his found family. His reach has extended even to the next generation. Jarlaxle's connection to Drizzt Do'Urden is a thread that continues into the most recent chapters of the story, a reminder that his agenda and Drizzt's life remain intertwined in ways that are still unfolding. Since his earliest days on the surface world, Drizzt has kept journals. These are genuine philosophical examinations, the nature of good and evil, the meaning of identity, the burden of prejudice, love, loss, and the complicated relationship between conscience and survival. Salvatore has woven passages from these journals throughout the series, using them as a window into Drizzt's inner life across 2 centuries of storytelling. They reveal a man who has never stopped asking the hard questions, even when the answers cost him. There is a smaller ritual that captures the same spirit. From his first days on the surface, Drizzt made a habit of watching the sunrise every morning. Partly practical, his drow eyes needed the gradual exposure to adjust to the brightness of the surface world, but it became something more. Each sunrise was a reminder that light existed, that the world held beauty worth protecting. For a drow who spent his formative years in a city that had never seen the sky, it was an act of both adjustment and affirmation, and it has stayed with him for 2 centuries. The elven lifespan carries a cost that compounds with every passing decade. Drizzt watches the people he loves age while he remains seemingly unchanged. Friends, allies, people he has fought beside and grieved for have come and gone across 2 centuries of life. There have been periods when this accumulated weight pushed Drizzt toward moral uncertainty, toward questionable alliances and choices that drifted from his values. His journals document these periods honestly. He has never pretended otherwise about who he was in those moments. What has consistently brought him back is his willingness to sit with grief, examine it, and choose again. Drizzt's relationship with the divine is marked by genuine skepticism. He respects Mialiki's teachings deeply and has aligned his life with her values for well over a century. He engages with her teachings as a moral framework rather than a conventional act of devotion, and he questions the authority of divine powers over mortal lives. He has said as much directly in his journals. Loth has never been indifferent to him. The Spider Queen views Drizzt as a wayward child of her people, a symbol of defiance she cannot ignore. Her interest in him throughout his life has taken many forms, not all of them hostile, which speaks to the complexity of her obsession more than any generosity on her part. Mialiki's interest is of a different kind. She has demonstrated genuine care for Drizzt in moments that went well beyond the typical relationship between deity and follower. Whether Drizzt fully accepts what that means remains one of the open questions in his journals. What connects all of this is the same thread that runs through everything Drizzt does: the insistence on choosing deliberately. He approaches faith the same way he approaches his fighting style and his sense of identity. He earns his own answers. Drizzt Do'Urden has been a constant in fantasy literature for nearly 40 years, and his staying power comes from something specific. He is a character defined entirely by choice. His circumstances have been hostile at every turn: a brutal city, a goddess who demanded cruelty, a surface world that despised the sight of him. The life and legacy he built from those circumstances is the entire point. Across 2 centuries of storytelling, Drizzt has remained genuinely willing to face the hard questions, committed to the values he chose, and open to being changed by the world and people around him. Salvatore has been writing this character for nearly 40 years and is still finding new things to say about him. That is a remarkable achievement, and it speaks to the depth Salvatore built into Drizzt from the very beginning. Drizzt Do'Urden is my favorite fantasy character of all time. Bob's writing and the moral compass Drizzt has represented throughout the series were a beacon of hope for me as a young person and continue to be so today. This channel is my way of expressing the love I have for these books and the inspiration they bring to me and to so many others. If you want to start reading, The Crystal Shard is Drizzt's debut, and Homeland is where his origin story begins. You can find many of the books in your local library or get signed and personalized copies from rasalvatore.com. The entire series is available on Audible with the incredible voice talent of Victor Bavine and a few others along the way. I have had the pleasure of meeting and speaking with Bob Salvatore, and it's easy to see why his books have affected millions of people around the world. If you want to dig deeper into the world of Drizzt and the Forgotten Realms, this is the channel for you. I make weekly videos here on YouTube and build custom D&D stat blocks and magic items for all of the Legend of Drizzt characters over on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for more lore from the Forgotten Realms and the Legend of Drizzt.